video by the Congress party would go to the UK and attack India and India's democracy and all its institutions. And not just that, the kind of things that he said and alluded to, I mean, literally saying that democracy doesn't work. And not just that, he invoked EU and and the US, and literally asked and said that they're oblivious to the state of affairs in India. So I think it cannot be a bigger travesty. And more than that, I mean, for the life of me, I can't figure out why would a member of parliament lie so blatantly in a foreign land, knowing very well that his lies remain unsubstantiated one, that people would know that, that nothing can be substantiated because everybody knows that they're far from the truth, that microphones have never particularly been switched off, that we are indeed a sovereign country, and that, but the fact that a person can be so, I mean, I hate to say the word, but so almost idiotic that he doesn't even know that we are a sovereign country, that we achieved independence many years back. I mean, it is so foolish to have somebody like that and go there and say something like this. Of course, it impacts us as for who we are as a people and where we stand in the world, and to go there to our yesteryear's colonial powers and to have our democracy.
All right, Shazia, you made the point. You made the point about how these comments, according to you and the BJP, are damaging for the country and national image. There's one more point I want you to respond to, and then I'll go to the Congress party. The Congress party also says that you're raking up all these issues because there are other substantial issues on which the Congress party and the opposition is demanding an answer from you, and the government doesn't have any answer.
What questions? When it comes to the Adani and JPC probe, the Supreme Court is looking into it. There's a 6-member panel. And the fact is, why did Rahul Gandhi rake them up? What was the need for Rahul Gandhi to go to Chatham House? And this doesn't reflect badly on just India and India's democracy and the parliament, but poorly on him. Because he's a parliamentarian after all. There are governments, I mean, Himachal Pradesh, Rajasthan. I mean, does he have no faith in democracy? Does he choose to resign?
Okay.
From his position as a
let me take these points. Let me take these points one by one with the Congress party.
Governments.
Mr.
I mean, come on, think about it. It is really sad and tragic and also ludicrous. So obviously it should be taken up.
Dr. Prasad, coming to you and taking in a word from you. The critical thing that the BJP is arguing here is that you have no basis or substance when you argue that democracy is under some kind of threat. Are you saying free and fair elections are not happening in this country? Are you saying that there is no independent Supreme Court in this country? Are you also saying that the key institutions have been completely compromised and this is some kind of emergency era that was imposed by the Congress party? The BJP is demanding an answer from you that if you're arguing democracy is under threat, substantiate those allegations.
See, definitely what Rahulji told in UK is absolutely right. There is no question of exaggeration or imagination. The microphones are being switched off. It is a fact that the microphones of the members of the parliament are being switched off in spite of adopting the proper procedure to intervene and give a speech. Number two, democracy is a big question mark as far as India is concerned. He has not attacked India. He has attacked the Modi government, which is killing democracy day by day. And democracy is in shambles today, and it is a very pathetic situation that we all in India are facing, because last session it was Pegasus and Hindenburg report for Adani, and every time we question, we ask for a JPC, it is not given. See, simply by appointing a JPC is not a big thing. A parliament government can appoint a JPC, then the process of examination can go on separately. Thereby 35, whatever the laws has to be passed and the demands on grants has to be discussed, it can be discussed in a very constructive manner, for which we are ready 100%. We want to represent our constituency, we want to represent the country's future progressive pathway, and that is what we are all being trained of.
Are you sure that you even have the support of the key opposition players, when it comes to the opposition unity, quote unquote? Because a lot of opposition parties want to remain in arm's distance when it comes to these statements of Rahul Gandhi.
No,
Dr.
no, no, no.
Prasad.
See, Rahulji clearly said it is an attack on democracy. And everyone understood that. Everyone knows that what he says is right. There is absolutely no sense of exaggeration in this question
if everybody knows,
But
if everybody knows,
this
it's
government is
a
trying to
legitimate
beat around
question
the
to
bushes.
ask. Dr. Prasad, it's a legitimate question to ask. If everybody
Yes.
knows, quote unquote, that what Rahul Gandhi is saying is right, then why is the Congress party facing the kind of electoral defeats that it is in the last 7 to 8 years? Are you, one of the key questions that the BJP also asks is that just because you're losing elections, does it mean that democracy is under some kind of threat?
No, no, no. See, winning election and losing election is a part of political scenario. See, that does not come with the way the democracy has to operate. Democracy has its own essence. And the fundamental duty of an opposition party is to retain the democracy of this country and to ensure the absolute safety of the people, irrespective of the caste, creed and community. And that is what we Congress people are for. And that is what we are insisting day by day, in spite of, so much of involvement from the institutions and mishandlings of the institution, misuse of the institutions. It is happening every day, but still Congress will be in the right path in questioning the wrongdoings of the government, and it will play its duty as an prime opposition party.
Mr. Ratan Sharda, questioning the government or criticizing the government is not being anti-national, and the opposition parties have a right to do so. So does Rahul Gandhi. That's what Dr. Prasad is arguing.
I do agree that questioning the government is not anti-democratic, but questioning the democratic institutions, is that not anti-democratic? You go outside India and you try to create suspicion about its most august democratic institutions by claiming victimhood. That is the biggest sign that you are being anti-democratic. And you go outside because when you speak about it in India, nobody believes you. For an absentee MP, for an MP who is on bail for National Herald case, to then talk of, institutions not being working, etc., doesn't work. Just because you are not in power for 8 years, just because you are not winning most of the elections, the nation doesn't become anti-democratic. Anti-democratic when you suspend all the institutions, when you take absolute control like an emergency, and when you dissolve assemblies left and right and center under Article 356, when you amend the constitution for 100 times, and you also change the very preamble of the constitution, that is anti-democratic. So don't tell people what is democratic, what is not democratic. And I would say that it's not political process, it is very democratic process that elections happen. When Mr. Prasad says that losing elections is not actually really doesn't matter, but democracy still doesn't exist. So what is democracy then? Please tell me, if regular elections, independent elections are held and you win some, you lose some, or lose most, still you believe there is no democracy? You come on TV every day, abuse Modi ji, abuse BJP, it still remains anti-democratic, it remains no democracy. So please look at what you are saying and where you are saying. The BJP will utilize it to its maximum extent. You can't quarrel about that. I am not speaking about whether it is anti-national or not. My main point is, when you raise substitution values of very institutions which are there for long years, have been respected all across the world, you are creating basic doubt about Indian democracy. That
Absolutely.
Is
whether it's the Supreme Court or whether it's the Election Commission, they have continued to function irrespective of which governments have been in power. Dr. Prasad, a quick word from you, then I'll bring in Mr. Javed Ansari.
See, democracy, using, you can dissolve a government or bring in an emergency. There is a provision in the Constitution. And that is what we have been doing so far. But misusing
Dr. Prasad, I'm a student of law.
IT,
how many times was Article
SEBI
356
can be used like this,
by the union governments
can
when
be
Congress
used like
was in
this.
power
So this
to
is
dissolve
what
the
is a
state
question mark to
governments?
democracy. The art of muscling over the
question.
SEBI and ED, all these things. See, in Northeast, you have got only one MLA, but you immediately you form the government. But in Mumbai, Maharashtra, with 40
Dr. Prasad,
MLAs,
there is
able
a
to
straight
form the
question.
government, whereas
Dr.
with
Prasad,
100
one second.
BJP
There's a
Fadnavis
straight
is not made a
question
CM.
that Mr. Ratan Sharda has asked you, that when you amend the constitution dozens of times, when there is a change in the preamble of the constitution that happens, more importantly, 356 and the manner in which various state governments were dissolved, that is used dozens of times by the ruling Congress party at that time in day when they were in power. Was that not subversion of democracy? And has anything like that happened in the last 7 to 8 years? A question by Mr. Ratan Shah.
See, there is a provision in the constitution, and that is what we adopted. And later, our same Congress government declared the election also. We announced for the public mandate. It is not that it is not complete dissolving the entire government and staying dictator or autocrat. We call for public mandate. We ourselves declare for an election again.
Public mandate
So that point we have to
Bureau gave you wrong report. You took elections because Intelligence Bureau made you believe that you win the election.
See, we believe in democracy.
It was gain legitimacy. Don't teach me history, Mr. Prasad. Don't teach me history.
Never.
I have gone through this post-independence very thoroughly. And you talk of Hindenburg, should a government act,
a new form of
parliament
education
act
to
I only want to see that.
Stock market person should be hold an inquiry. What is the basis of 6% creating
one person at a time? Dr. Prasad, a word from you. Dr. Prasad, please, at this
cases. And that is what is our question. We have to form a JPC so that a complete probe can be made, and if they are clean, they can come out with a clean sheet.
But you know, one fundamental question that I've asked since the beginning of the debate is there any substantial basis for the Congress party to say what it is saying?
Mr. Javed Ansari,
Mr. Javed Ansari, I want you to come into the debate,
Just one question. Anusha, just one question.
Yeah.
He doesn't have faith in Supreme Court?
I'll ask that question to him because there
And
are
should
various
JPC be
there
formed just because a
are
stock
various
stock
questions
market
that have
guy
been raised on
puts
the
up a
independence
report?
of
In fact,
judiciary
you
as
should
well.
be ashamed.
Mr. Javed Ansari, I want you to come into the debate. The kind of discourse that has come in from the Congress leader, from Rahul Gandhi, BJP cannot be blamed for taking advantage of it. Is this the kind of narrative that helps the grand old party? What's your understanding, sir?
Well, if I was a Congress party political manager, I would certainly avoid such an issue. Like I said earlier in your show as well, the other day, that as a matter of principle, I do not believe that our politicians should wash dirty linen in public.
Yeah.
And this is a principle that applies top to bottom. It applies to the opposition. It also applies to those in government, including the Prime Minister. There was some wisdom. There was a lot of wisdom in the earlier understanding amongst politicians that when abroad, they would never comment on India's domestic affairs. Even when pointedly asked questions, they used to refrain. And perhaps it's time now for our politicians to go back and adopt that principle, because there is so much being lost. Now, as far as the merits of what Mr. Rahul Gandhi said, to say that there is no democracy in India is not true. But at the same time, to say that everything is hunky-dory is also not true. Democratic institutions are under threat. When somebody is jailed, when a comedian is jailed for a joke that he did not tell, what does it say? When a journalist is sent to jail for a story that he did not write, when a principal of a school in Western UP is jailed because he, they sing that tarana, Lappe aati hai dua, then what do you say? When mandates are changed, a party wins more seats, yet defections are induced, and the ones who have not actually won the maximum number of seats, they go on and form the government. This is not uncommon. This is not as if this is happening for the first time under this government.
Right.
It has happened under previous governments also. So therefore, to say the truth lies somewhere in between. But despite all that, I would still believe, and if my voice carries any weight, I would urge all our politicians to keep their powder dry, at least when they are traveling outside the country.
Shrazia, I want you to come into the debate. One of the key things that the Congress party has said is that why are you criticizing Rahul Gandhi when similar statements against the opposition have been made on foreign soil by top leaders of the BJP as well? If they have a right to criticize the opposition parties when they are abroad, similar right exists with the Congress party as well.
So if the comment is being made and criticism is being done of the previous policies and the way things have been vis-a-vis either corruption, rampant corruption and other scams, that has happened. But to criticize the Indian parliamentary democracy, to imagine that microphones are indeed getting switched off deliberately to make up stories about opposition leaders being thrown into the jail, to say that Pegasus was used without any substantiation, to say that that indeed Pegasus was used, and not offering the phone of his personal phone up for investigation. All of those things do not make sense. To attack the Supreme Court and the EC, and to say that the entire democracy is being stifled and there is nothing democratic is indeed
I think
also
there are
casting
two major
aspersions,
parts. There are two
casting
major
aspersions,
limbs of the
and also
criticism which is coming in from the BJP.
invoking
Yeah.
the EU,
Yeah.
also invoking EU and the US, and asking them to intervene in matters of India,
Yeah.
and the way Indian democracy is practiced.
Yeah.
I think it's completely untenable.
And
I think
Dr.
it's
Vishnu
really,
Prasad, Dr. Vishnu Prasad, 2 points on which I want you to specifically
Yeah.
talk about.
See,
One is
I would like
a
to say
question.
one
No,
thing
one
here.
second. So let me frame this because a lot of things have been said into the debate. Mr. Ratan Sharda asked you a very pointed question that do you have no belief in the Supreme Court of India? I also add one more bit to it, that when it comes to institutions like Supreme Court and Election Commission, should there be a Lakshman Rekha that politicians should not cross, especially when you're in foreign soil?
See, in 2015, after Narendra Modi ji became the Prime Minister, he was in Canada, he was in Germany, and he quoted the very same thing, that India is a land of scams. Is it something that we should be proud of? And when a New York Times reporter asked, Mr. Modi, what is your wish? How you would have handled Gujarat riots if you are given a chance now? He said that I should have handled media much better than before. This is the way Mr. Modi ji answers abroad, not here in India. And same in South Korea also, he said, same Prime Minister Mr. Modi said that Indians are ashamed of being born as an Indian. What sort of language is all this?
If you
Is
just
this
follow
something
the
that we
question
should be
that I
proud of?
asked Shazia.
Are we happy
Shazia
to
ji, just
hear all
like
these
few
things?
seconds ago, the question
Why
was same,
everybody is telling that Rahul ji-
why is it that the BJP leaders can go on foreign soil and ask the questions that they want, and Congress is criticized for the same? She answered. I am asking you a similar question. I'm asking you that when it comes to institutions like Supreme Court and Election Commission, take pot shots at the present government, take pot shots at the Prime Minister or any other political party which is ruling or administering the country right now. But when it comes to institutions like Supreme Court and Election Commission, is there a Lakshman Rekha that politicians should not cross? Answer that question, sir. That do you have no faith in Supreme Court and Election Commission?
No, we do believe in Supreme Court and Election Commission. Absolutely, there is no doubt about it. But at the same time, what we should observe is, people's mandate is the biggest thing that we are looking for.
Yeah.
And definitely, democracy is killed in India slowly. You know, what happened in Maharashtra in changing the government, what happened in Calcutta, in same Sarada scam, Surendra Adhikari was once upon a time was Mamta ji's close aide. He was raided by this institution and immediately he shifted his loyalty towards BJP and he stood against Mamta and defeated her. And now there is no case, no pursuance of the case. What happened to that case? So, the institutions which we all believe in India that they will be doing their duties properly towards the people of India have failed miserably.
I have last 1 minute. Shazia ji, I'm coming to you.
Selectively.
The CBI was
And
called
the
a cage
targets are very
parrot during the
selective.
UPA
I think
regime.
it's way out of
It
line.
was called a cage
I
parrot
think
during a
it's
UPA
way
regime
out of
because it
line.
was not doing its job. Now the Congress party is
think-
accusing you of the same thing, that the CBI and ED are being misused for political purposes.
I think
Same.
I think all these parties have just gotten together to hide their blatant corruption, and ED and CBI have found enough evidence. Otherwise, it would not have reached the levels of investigation that it has. So, if they don't want ED and CBI running after them, then they should not indulge in such crazy corruption. And just because you're in the opposition doesn't mean that you're allowed to loot and scoot and use that kind of money and believe in this unbridled wealth and greed. I'm sorry, you cannot be allowed to
but
get
Shazia
away.
ji, there is
I'm
a
sorry
very
to
pointed
say,
question
sorry,
being asked
sorry,
that there were certain
you
leaders
will-
who were
you will
earlier in
indulge in
TMC
corruption,
and there were
you will
cases
get
against
caught.
them. And the moment you
will
switch
get
side
caught.
to the
That
BJP, the
is
cases
the
are not
job
being
of the
pursued. That was
CBI
a
and
question of the
ED.
Congress party.
Be it whichever party you belong to, and you indulge in corruption, you will get investigated. You will go to jail. That is the price that you will have to pay. You indulge in graft,
But there is
doesn't
no
matter.
continuity.
So
There
do
is no.
not,
What is
do
an
not,
end?
do not go running helter and skelter and saying, "Oh, do not try foul." This is what it should be.
Whether
And I'm glad it's
whether
happening.
somebody believes or not, I think citizens of this country believe in the due process of law, the institutions of judiciary and election commission, and more importantly, I do wish as a citizen that politics on both the sides can continue, but the precious time of the parliament should not be wasted. With that, I thank all of you. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast. Shazia Almi, Dr. Vishnu Prasad, Ratan Sharda and Javed